I'm very happy to be at the home of Sheikh Uncle Prabhu and feel grateful that he invites us all at his home to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we will continue with the seminar on the pastime of Kaliya. Who remembers something from the last session? What happens? What happened with Kaliya? Yes?
The
wives? You're gonna say the wives?
The
Wives.
the wives, yeah, today about the wife, I don't know much more about.
Yeah, so the wives started praying. And what happened before?
Krishna was dancing in the woods
On the hoods of Kaliya. And what happened with Kaliya?
He almost died. He had blood coming out of his eyes.
He almost died.
Or mouth and his nose. Sorry, not eye.
And what happened at the end with Kaliya?
He took shelter Krishna within his mind.
Finally, yes, he became a devotee, took shelter of Krishna. And then his wives came forward. We remember that in the Yamuna, there is a lake. And there's an island in that lake. And all these wives came on the island, put their children in front to invoke compassion of Krishna. And they will start to pray now. Today we were in Quebec City and yeah, we had programs there. And one of the points we discussed is that to make our chanting successful, we must chant with a proper inner attitude. And we can learn today a lot about this proper inner attitude. I will read the commentaries of our previous Acharya on the next verses, the beginning of these prayers. That wives of Kaliya will say, it's good that you have punished him. He was a simple serpent that, but yeah, sometimes in our lives we have also many things which are not going according to our plan. You have also that experience? Does that happen to you also sometimes? Yeah, happens sometimes. And then we think, oh, it's a punishment. But then later on, we think, oh, if that would not have happened, I would be still attached to this situation. It's Krishna's mercy, we say later. Someone has that experience in his life? Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that is what the wives of the Brahmins will say. It is mercy that you punished them. It was rightly done, but factually your punishment is mercy. That and they will give a lot of reasons why it was mercy. So I remember Bhakti Charumaharaj instructed me when I was going through a very heavy period. He said, whatever happens in your life, good or bad, it as the mercy of Krishna. That's interesting. An interesting instruction. That easier said than done, but it's and that is what we have to learn, to accept our situation as Krishna's mercy. And we will hear more about that now. It's good. There may be some repetition, but repetition of a good thing is required. And by hearing it again, it will go deeper. This inner attitude we have to accept, observing in our life what happens and accepting it as Krishna's mercy. So we will start first with reading Srimad Bhagavatam. We will discuss from text 33 till 36 this evening. These are only a few verses, but with a lot of commentaries. It means our acharyas found it worthwhile to comment on these verses. From text chapter 16, canto 10, verses 33 till 36. So the wives of Kaliya are the Nagapatnas in Sanskrit. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Nagapatnya Uchu Nayo Hidanda Kritakil Bises Mins Davavatara Kalanikrahaya Hiposutanam Apitulya Drishtir Tatse Damam Phalam Evanusam Sam. Translation. The wives of Kaliya, of the Kaliya serpent, said, the punishment this offender has been subjected to is certainly just. After all, you have incarnated within this world to curb down envious and cruel persons. You are so impartial that you look equally upon your enemies and your own sons. For when you impose a punishment on a living being, you know it to be for his ultimate benefit. So the wives of Kaliya. Yeah. In the previous verse it was said, their minds were suvihmanaha. Their minds were agitated. They put their children before them in front and thrown their bodies on the ground. Bhuttapatim. They bow down to the Bhuttapatim, the Lord of all living entities. So they were different from Kaliya. These wives, they were devotees, they were so devotional. They were sadhya, saintly ladies. And when they prayed to the Lord, Kritanjali, with their hands folded. So they desired that their very sinful husband be freed and receive liberation. That will be their request. Thus, they are taking here shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, in the next 6 verses, they will say to Krishna, yes, we agree with Krishna's punishment. It was rightly done. In the next verses, after that, they will offer obeisance to the Lord. That in 2 verses, and then there are 5 verses that complete the prayers. And at the end of the prayers, usually there is a request. A request for a benediction. So first they agree with the punishment, and they say, it is proper that you chastise him. He's a sinful serpent. That but they also say, how is it that he's given such mercy? That someone had Krishna's feet on his head here. Is that not mercy? Extraordinary mercy. That so that the sinful heads had been touched by your lotus feet. Your chastisement is actually mercy, they will say. So they agree, and then they appreciated Krishna's punishment. So during the next verses, they will offer also obeisances. And then at the end, they will ask for a benediction. Please liberate Kaliya. So now you have this verse 33 that interesting point in this verse. It says, you look equally upon your enemies and your own sons. That so why is that mentioned here? Is equally looking equally up his enemies and his sons. That means, we'll wait a minute. That so it means that Krishna punishes enemies, but if his own son would do something wrong, he will punish his own son in the same way. That's what it means. So they are saying the punishment you have given Kaliya, it's for his benefit. That yet we understand the nature of your incarnation. Why Krishna came, Vinasaya Saduskritam, punishing the demons. That and we know that you have been fair, because you would even punish your own son. On the other hand, you reward even a demon who is a devotee. So, does someone as an example of Krishna punishing his own son?
No.
Please? Yeah.
Teacher, his son, Bhomas, not Bhomas.
Yeah, Bhomasur.
Bhomasur, yeah.
That's right.
Because he had kidnapped the girls from different kingdoms.
Bhomasur was a son of Krishna?
Yeah.
Bhomasur, who was the father of Bhomasur? Varahadev.
Oh, Varahadev and Bhumi Devi, they were the parents of.
Yeah, because Varahadev penetrated
Oh.
the earth, and from that union came Bhomasur. He was not a demon, but he became a demon by bad association. So that's yeah.
He was the one who had many, many arms.
Yeah. So the example Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives here of Krishna being fair and having equanimity of vision and rewarding a demon. who was a devotee. Demons who were devotees. Who are there? Vitrasur, yes. Please. Prahlad Maharaj. Bali Maharaj. So yes, he was very merciful to them. But he also punished his own son, Baumasur. That so Sridhar Swami, little further. So Kaliya, his problem was that he was inimical to the residents of Vrindavan. That he was trying to kill them. He wanted to kill all these residents by poison. And so they said, Nagapatnis, he got the results of his own envious nature. That so they say there is never, you are never unfair, never impartial, they say to Krishna, because you act to protect the civilized members of society. Interesting. So the Lord treats equally his own sons and his enemy. He treated Prahlad Maharaj and very nicely, and he killed his own son, Narakasur. Narakasur is another name of Baumasur. That later he got his name Narakasur because he was associating with demons. That so even in subduing the envious, that there is no hatred on the part of Krishna. That so this punishment, they said, is good because it removed his inimical nature, and finally it gives eternal happiness. That's interesting. When we become devotees, we come under Krishna's internal energy. Those in the spiritual world who are under the internal energy, they are called liberated souls. But interesting, Srila Prabhupada in a lecture, he said that Srila Prabhupada in a lecture, he said something very interesting. It's a commentary of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15. At the end, Krishna explains the Trisloka Gita. You know the Trisloka Gita? No? That there Krishna says first, there are the fallible and the infallible, two kinds of living entities, the fallible and the infallible. So there are the liberated and the conditioned souls. In the next verse, Krishna says, but I'm above them. And on a lecture of that verse, Srila Prabhupada said, the living entity is, whether under the material or the spiritual energy, is always conditioned. always. The liberated, so-called liberated souls are conditioned under the influence of the spiritual energy. So they are still under under
Christian control.
Krishna's control. Yeah, that's interesting. That yeah. Okay. Now we will hear the next prayer of the Nagapatnis.
Maharaj, isn't it that the internal energy, she controls Krishna? So maybe they're controlled by internal energy, but they gain the power to control Krishna also with their.
Not all,
Mhm.
only those who have Praja Bhakti,
Mhm.
they can control Krishna. We will hear about that soon in Kartik, the Damodar month. Damodar, well, Krishna does not like when the residents of Vrindavan call him Damodar, because he think Damodar, it has a negative connotation because he thinks, yeah, I've been bound by Mother Yashoda because I did something wrong. So,
To punish.
Damodar, punishment, yeah. But anyway, that's Praja Bhakti, that, yes, Krishna is conquered by love. That, now text 14. Anukaroyam bhavata krito no dando satam tikalukal masakaha yadanda sukat pamamusya dehina podopite nukae vasammata. What you have done here is actually mercy for us, since the punishment you give to the wicked certainly drives away all their contamination. Indeed, because this conditioned soul, our husband, is so simple that he assumed the body of a serpent. Your anger toward him is obviously to be understood as your mercy. So in the previous verse, they said, it's rightly you punished him. But now they are saying it's not really a punishment, it's mercy. It's mercy. So that's something we have to learn also. That never thinks Krishna is punishing us. He's helping us to give up our material attachment. And it's factually mercy. It's mercy. That, and we will hear the commentary first of Madhvacharya. One who simply thinks with devotion that the punishment which the Supreme offers to me is actually mercy to me. But those who continue, even after receiving punishment of the Lord, to envy him, they fail to realize him because of their inappropriate attitude. So here, it's an inappropriate attitude. If you think, oh, why does Krishna does that to me? That's a problem. That's a problem. It's not easy to see everything in your life, good as bad, as the mercy of Krishna. That Sridhar Swami says, so first, in the first verse, they say, it's proper what you have done. And this verse shows the Lord's mercy. Kaliya has received the body of a serpent because of his, why? Because of his enviousness. Why are we in this material world?
Same thing.
because of our enviousness. So you see the link between Kaliya and us? No? Hmm?
It was small.
We can say Kaliya is very simple or envious, but we don't see in our own heart. The fact that we have a material body, we got that body because we were envious of Krishna. Therefore, we are in this material world. But Sridhar Swami comments further. So they previously stated that your punishment is indeed mercy, and now they say that it is your mercy, that it is not at all punishment, because Kaliya has assumed the form of a serpent. It is your mercy that you touch the serpent. Thus the punishment that eradicates the sinfulness due to that birth is indeed mercy. Because of your punishment, its enviousness has been removed. Look what he took to remove his enviousness, his enmity with you. We heard he had nearly to die to come to that point. That Krishna was tramping and dancing on his hand. He had a good time. But Kaliya was suffering like anything. And just before he was going to leave his body, his attitude changed. How difficult it is to remove this envy from our heart. So he had to be brought nearly to the point of death. That punishment which removed this enmity, that caused his taking birth as a serpent, that seemingly punishment was in fact your kindness, your mercy, even though it appears to be a manifestation of envy. So it appears that you are envious, but actually you are only kind upon us. Now we will hear from Sanatan Goswami. Always different angles, Sanatan Goswami. The use of the masculine gender in the words of us who are impure is because they are grouping themselves together with Kaliya. So the wives of Kaliya think, yes, we are only we also were envious because we have associated with this serpent. In fact, these Nagapatnis, they were constantly saying every day, Kaliya, give up your envious towards Krishna. But he didn't care. But they were thinking themselves not saintly persons. They were thinking, yeah, we are in the same category. That's a pure devotee thinks like that. Pure devotee. A pure devotee will not say all the time, I'm fallen. That Srila Prabhupada, disciples came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. And Srila Prabhupada would say, you are not the most of anything. And then another devotee would say to Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, what are you going to do about it? But yeah, we can say these things, but a pure devotee factually feels like that. Srila Prabhupada was in Uppsala University in Sweden, and there Srila Prabhupada was explaining about a first-class man, a second-class man, and a third-class man. And one of the students was raising his hand, challenged Prabhupada, and said, "You certainly think you are a first-class man, yes?" And Peter Prabhu was standing just near to Prabhupada, and you could see, but Prabhupada, tears came from his eyes, and he said, "No, I'm a fifth-class person." So that's pure devotee feelings. That Krishna says that also one who thinks I'm a devotee, one who says that is my devotee is not my devotee, but one who is the devotee of my devotee, who serves nicely, is my real devotee. That. So you have punished a sinful person, and we are included. But the word Eva is indicating that this is not in any way punishment. It has been firmly considered both by ourselves and by learned persons. Your punishment eradicated the contamination of all impure persons and uproots their evil desires. This fact can be explained even by this person who falsely identifies with the material body and has been a great offender. A condition of being a serpent has, as we see, this condition of being a serpent has been removed. And now he's developing pure intelligence by the process of taking taking shelter. So, thus, even that anger, which is the basis of his punishment, is actually mercy. Thus, the anger you are feeling is recommendable, and we are appreciating. Just like if you are really angry, and then someone says to you, "Oh, your anger is actually your kindness." We are really appreciating so much the fact that you are angry. That, but one who is really angry, he cannot laugh. And if you laugh, then the anger is away. So by praising his anger, they hope to diminish Krishna's anger and remove it. Now, of course, you have Kaliya's anger. Kaliya's anger is simply the nature of his species. He's a serpent, by nature envious and angry, and he has been accepted by you as the reason for showing mercy, as you allowed yourself to be enveloped by his serpent body. Since you have acted towards him by dancing with great joy upon his hoods, which were rising up in anger. So this is really your kindness. You're allowing him to embrace you. So who can be more kind? So Krishna, imagine Krishna allows you to embrace him. What a mercy. What of just a touch of his lotus feet? You would have dealt in 50,000 other ways with them. You could have dealt in 50,000 other ways with this poisonous snake, which was destroying the Yamuna river. You could just have put your glance over him and killed him, just as you have killed Aghasur. You could have killed him in unlimited ways, just by the raising of your eyebrows. You could have killed him. Instead, you allowed him to embrace you within his coils. That is special mercy. And not only that, you danced upon Kaliya. that will be even that will be even more expressed in the next verse we will see. Shila Vishwanath says, therefore, you are actually showing only mercy, even if such mercy appears to be punishment. This punishment against us, including themselves, so they are including themselves, they are identifying with those being punished. It's driving away, this punishment is driving away our contamination. So the suffering Kaliya had undergone is bringing down his enjoying spirit. That's therefore Krishna, when you become a devotee and you want to enjoy without him, he's going to frustrate you. Be sure it will not work out. That because Krishna wants to take away this enjoying spirit. That so the body that tends to is because our body itself tends to enjoy. That's the nature of the human body. But that is due to our sinful reactions. We tend to think that enjoyment means pleasure. And if one has a body fit for enjoyment, then one thinks oneself fortunate. But actually, this material tendency for enjoyment are sinful reactions. And Krishna is so kindly removing those reactions, removing the sinful tendencies. So it appears to be punishment. That Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, actually, you have only showed mercy, even to the wicked, although such appears to be punishment. So he says to Krishna, you are not giving punishment, it's only mercy. That, so now they have said from different points that Krishna is being so kind. What wonderful deeds he had done. Well, then they are questioning, Kaliya, what did he do to get that mercy? That why have you been so merciful to him? That, so, what was the mercy given by Krishna to Kaliya? You remember something?
I read it that in previous life, Kaliya was a saintly person, and he was receiving anyone and washing their feet, feeding them, giving them something. But once come leper, and before he would even drink water from others. But when he washed feet of leper, he couldn't drink, he just put on his head. And this leper was actually demigod who came to test him, because he was very charitable, he was very receiving everyone. When I read this, and I said, too much punishment for small things.
Yeah, but the history of Kaliya we will hear in the next chapter. That there things will become more clear. But the reason for his mercy, we will hear, it will be hinted by the end of today's presentation, the last verse we will discuss. But Mike, that's good, thank you for that. But my question was, so the Nagapatni said, It's not punishment, it's mercy. So what are the reasons they gave for this?
Why Krishna gave mercy?
Yeah.
I guess because the wives were paying to Krishna. Krishna killed other demons, but he chastised Kaliya only.
Yeah, but the point the question that I ask is, why was it chastisement mercy?
Because
Hmm?
it cured him of his envious.
It cured him from his enviousness. Yeah,
And also Krishna placed his lotus feet on his
he
head.
placed his lotus feet on his head.
And he
Yeah.
hadn't done that for anyone.
Yeah,
other
yeah.
than- The
Yeah.
only other person in the whole Bhagavatam who got Krishna's feet is Bali Maharaj. Nobody else got it.
Mhm. And other point?
He allowed him to embrace him.
Yeah, he allowed him to embrace him. Yeah. He allowed him to embrace his transcendental body. And he allowed him to use all his head as a dancing state, a dancing platform for Krishna.
He gave pleasure to Krishna.
Yeah, yeah. He was, but he was so sinful that he received the body of a serpent. And they said, you have removed that enviousness and that sinful nature. That, yes. That's, someone asked Srila Prabhupada, you are a Swami, what miracles did you do? And Srila Prabhupada, look, he pointed at his disciples that these were all hippies before, drug addicts, and now they have become saintly persons. That's my miracle.
The greatest miracle.
Yeah, and that's the same here. That's the greatest miracle. It's envious. So their question was, this wife, what has he done for you to bestow this mercy upon him? So that's the mood, that was in the mind of the Nagapatnis, text 35. We have only 4 verses, we are halfway. Tapa sutaptam kimanena puvam nirastamanena samanadena dhammo tava sarvacananukampaya yato bhavam tushati sarvajivaha. Did our husband carefully perform austerities in a previous life with his mind free of pride and full of respect for others? Is that why you are pleased with him? Or did he, in some previous existence, carefully execute religious duty with compassion for all living beings? And is that why you, the life of all living beings, are now satisfied with him? Yeah. So, but then how can it be that Kaliya performed austerities in previous life? He got a body of a serpent. He could not have done that with his mind free from pride. And because Kaliya was envious by nature. A serpent is disrespectful by nature and envious towards all living entities. So if one would perform prideless austerity and be respectful, then there would be a suitable result, they say. That he certainly did not do that. Or did he in a previous existence carefully execute his duty with compassion for all living beings? And is this why you are satisfied with him? That has he done something, performed religious duties, full of compassion for all living entities? And because you are compassion to all living entities, you are the life of all living beings, full of compassion. Now, is he being compassionate? Why are you satisfied with him? Because he supported you by being compassionate to all living beings. Is it therefore that you are satisfied with him? We'll read the purport here. This is from Srila Prabhupada in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He says, chapter 16, the Nagapatnis confirm that one cannot come in contact with Krishna without having executed pious activities in devotional service in one's previous lives. As Lord Chaitanya advised in his Sikshastaka, one has to execute devotional service by humbly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street, and not expecting honor for oneself, but offering all kinds of honor to others. The Nagapatnis were astonished that Kaliya had the body of a serpent as a result of grievous sinful activities. At the same time, he was in contact with the Lord to the extent that the Lord's lotus feet were touching his hoods. Certainly, this was not the ordinary result of pious activities. So these two contradictory facts astonished them. So Sridhar Swami said, since this is a very great show of mercy, it is acknowledged that this must have been caused by previous committed pious activities. This from Sanatan Goswami said, the excellence that Kaliya may have performed is shown by the words, beginning with the words Nirasta. But maybe being devoid of pride and giving honors to others in previous life, eradicating bad qualities by austerity. Did he do that? But by refusing to believe that Kaliya satisfied the Lord by such austerity, they attempt another hypothesis, with the words beginning with the word Dharma, namely, the performance of pious activities, non-violence to all living entities, and by acting beneficially. Previously, it is said that because of such qualities being absent in his life, how could he have satisfied the Supreme Lord to whom all living entities belong? So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, this right now, even as it appears as punishment, it is not so. Rather, it is that which is very difficult to attain on the part of even cultured persons. Kaliya somehow attained it very easily. In that connection, what great pious activities must be performed in the past? Thus wondering about this, they speak the verse beginning with Tappa. That's this verse. Who is free from pride on account of not being puffed up? One who gives respect to others. This is implied that this is an austerity of Vaishnava nature, and since we do not see that in Kaliya, rather we see a lack of false pride and a lack of willingness to give respect to others. And since those performers of austerity are not the recipients of your satisfaction, We are assuming that Kaliya performed Vaishnava activities for your satisfaction. Otherwise, it would not be possible that he got this mercy. The religious duty that is characterized by compassion for all living entities must have been performed, which indicates the Vaishnava character with which it has done, by which austerities enjoined by religious principles. Did you become so satisfied that you joyfully engaged in dancing on his head? By proper respect and compassion for all living entities, you became satisfied, and you are in the temple of the heart of all living souls also become satisfied. By incidental implication, you gave life to all, and this is why it is that you are beating. So how is it then that you are beating with your heels on this person? You must have been satisfied with him in previous lives. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes the point. He's a soul, and in previous life he must have satisfied you in many ways. Otherwise, why would you be so merciful to him now? So if he is satisfied, you in a previous life, in some ways, so why are you kicking him now? Why would you kill someone who has satisfied you? So that's going in the minds of the Nagapatnis. What's going on here? And then text 36, the last verse. Tasyanubhava Shyanadeva Vitmahe Tavangri Reno Sparasadikaraha Yatvang Shayashir Dalana Sharatapo Vihaya Kaman Shuchiram Dritavata. O Lord, we do not know how the serpent Kaliya has attained this great opportunity of being touched by the dust of your lotus feet. For this end, the goddess of fortune performed austerities for centuries, giving up all other desires and taking austere vows. The goddess of fortune even did not get such a mercy. So this verse sums up all the points of Krishna's mercy and what Kaliya might have done in previous lives. So we could understand what he has done we cannot understand what he has done to deserve your mercy. To deserve your mercy that you danced in Vrindavan on his head. Was it this specific fortune? We cannot understand this. You touched him with your lotus feet. What is his qualification to attain this fortune? We cannot understand. Devotees practice austerities, birth after birth. They desire the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna and have direct darshan of Krishna's lotus feet. And it is so difficult for these aspiring devotees to attain that. And yet this snake who acted inimically, look at his attainment. So we can't understand why you have given him this result. We don't know this. He has been touched by your lotus feet. What is his qualification? And to make the point even more strong about the extreme fortune of Kaliya, they say the goddess of fortune have performed austerities to gain the shelter of your lotus feet. She performed with firm vow for a long time, and she gave up everything with the desire to get direct touch of your lotus feet. She performed austerity for a very long time, and she could not attain the touch of your lotus feet. How is it possible. The goddess of fortune, who is so qualified, did not get it. So Sridhar Swami says, the goddess of fortune, whose grace even Brahma and others desire for their austerities, she is the best of women. Did austerities with the desire to become qualified to touch your lotus feet. So what did he do to gain what the goddess of fortune could not achieve? Jiva Goswami says, in the phrase beginning with Panchaya, the word she, to she who became the consort of the Lord of Vaikuntha. In this connection, the word tapa, because she is a woman, refers to the worship of her husband. This indicates that the worship became more excellent than previously, because she became very eager for the Lord who appeared as the son of the king of Braj. It is quite befitting that she developed hankering for him to have a relationship with Krishna and Vishnu. But even she was unable to achieve him by performing austerities, standing through the three phases of time, which is hinting by the words beginning with Kasayanubhavasya. What result did she get? What result did she get by doing this austerities?
She was able to go reside on the chest of the Lord. That's the Lord.
Yeah, that she got. But she's still continuing our austerities at the present moment.
But she was aspiring for Raj Bhakti, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's in the Rasa Lila.
please.
She wanted to enter the Rasa Lila.
Yeah, wanted to become. But that's explained here. A reason for being unable to attain him is because she did not have the exclusive devotion as of the gopis. Only by taking birth in Vrindavan or in the womb of a gopi can one attain the specific mood that is required to have the association with Krishna in Braj. She had attachment of being the goddess of fortune and that opulent position. She could not give up that, and therefore she couldn't get it. And yet, yeah,
Sorry about it.
you have given it to Kaliya.
Mhm.
Shiva Goswami says that she performed austerities in the past, present, and future, and continues in the future. And what result will she get? Actually, by the association of the Nagapatnas. And now it comes. Actually, by the association of the Nagapatnas, who were topmost devotee, Kaliya was able to take up residence in Vrindavan. But still we understand that by their considering themselves as fallen, they thought that Kaliya's good fortune had come from pious activities, not from them. Of course, they cannot put forward as the reason to the Lord that it is because of us, because we are great devotees. No. So Sanatana Goswami says, the privilege to touch the dust of your two feet on the path of this offensive Kaliya is the influence of austerities and penances, since that is impossible to obtain, even by austerities you cannot get it. So austerities and penances cannot give you this. That's not possible. There is a different way to get what he has gotten. So we don't know what he has done, how it is difficult to attain Krishna's lotus feet. How difficult it is to obtain Krishna's feet is described by the words vihaya. And again, this is specifically referring to the lotus feet of Krishna in Braj, not to Lord Vishnu, the Lord of Vaikuntha. Sanatana Goswami continues, or else You are absorbed in playful activities, which implies that even now it is difficult to achieve the qualification of simply being touched by the dust of your lotus feet, even though you are absorbed in the childish pastimes of this kind of dancing and so forth. When Lakshmi descended to this world, although she is eternally established as your dearmost, she had to perform austerities to gain you. This implies the very fact that the dust of your lotus feet is difficult to obtain. That it's difficult to obtain even by the gods of fortune, even though she is eternally present on the chest of the Lord of Vaikuntha. She became greedy and performed austerities in order to attain Krishna. Nevertheless, she could not attain that Krishna. She got only the benediction of having residence upon his chest in the form of a golden line. Furthermore, this rising good fortune could not simply be caused by penances performed, but rather it is inexplicable. What is the power of your mercy? They speak ideas in 3 verses. The verses 36, 37, 38, which comes in the next session, beginning with the word kasha. We don't know what this must be the effect of or the consequence why Kaliya received this mercy, because he is the most fallen, which is the result they are referring to. To obtain your lotus feet is impossible to obtain by austerities and all other pious activities. But this person has attained the contact of your two lotus feet, and that was in the form of dancing. Therefore, how great is his fortune? For she who is superior to Brahma and all other devotees, the consort of you, in the form of Narayan, performed austerities with the desire to achieve the touch of Krishna's lotus feet, performing his pastimes as a power form. So, Krishna's punishment comes mercy. So, just hearing that is very fortunate.
So it seems in these last verses, it makes the point that there is a great mystery surrounding Krishna's giving so much mercy. They cannot fully grasp it for what reason he was so merciful, right? To Kaliya. It seems to be there's a mystery.
Yeah, but the hint is given already. Why he received this mercy? That we'll see that also in a later chapter. That comes hereafter. The wives of the Brahmins. It's quite similar. That we get Krishna's mercy by the mercy of a devotee. That's the big message.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. This pastime is a little confusing to me because every time we see it, like most people, senior devotees say, like, our position as a good devotee should be Anukulyena Krishna Shilam. We should perform devotional service in a positive way, not in a negative way. But we see that there's so many examples in the Bhagavatam that even for devotees who serve Krishna as a demon or in a negative way, Krishna is still merciful to them. So, and sometimes even more, like he actually places his Kali, places those feet on their head. So, is it just that Krishna makes his the devotees who are serving him in an uncool manner to increase their bhakti? That's why he doesn't shower his mercy immediately, or is there some other reason?
The devotees ask Srila Prabhupada, how is it that I got a mercy in this life to become a devotee. Srila Prabhupada said, it's because you have been a devotee in previous life. Another time, a devotee asked the same question to Srila Prabhupada. What ajnata sukriti have I done? What pious activities have I done in my previous life to become a devotee? Srila Prabhupada said, I'm your ajnata sukriti. And that's the lesson we need to learn. That, yes, it's by the mercy of his wives who were pure devotees. And Kaliya was envious, but at the end he became Anukulena Krishna. He surrendered to Krishna. He wanted only to please Krishna. He surrendered completely. So he came to that point by the mercy of the wives. Yeah, okay, enthusiastic.
And my question, if we're not even pure devotee, like I imagine, like we go on book distribution, is it like by going on book distribution, we're kind of giving some mercy to the people, even if like I'm not a pure devotee, because like I'm in the process, I kind of give some mercy to some non-devotee. Would you explain the sharing?
Krishna explained that at the end of the Bhagavad Gita. It's man mano bhavmat bhakto machi mam namaskari. Think always of me, then you become my devotee, and then you worship me, and offer my respect to me, you become my devotee. And he says, Sarvadam Pracham, Mam Kam Sampacham, Tvam Sarvapavyam, Muksisham Machva. Give up all other things, just surrender unto me. But then after that, he says, one who explains the secret, this dialogue between Arjuna and me, he studies. He performs devotional service by studying this conversation. And then he said, one should explain this to those who are my devotees, not to those who are not austere. That then Krishna says, one who preaches, who gives that to others, not those who are envious, but those who are innocent and his devotees, is to say, is very dear to me. And there will be no one more dear to me. So Krishna says there, if you try to distribute these books, then you get this mercy. That, of course, that's done under Srila Prabhupada is representative Krishna. And he gave us this mission. So we are engaging in this mission. And by that, we are pleasing Prabhupada. We are pleasing Krishna. And we get this mercy. And that's important. Srila Prabhupada gave us the means to get this mercy, to get Krishna's mercy. It's there. We have just to do it. And sometimes you distribute books and the result may not be great or whatever, or a bad day, but always think Krishna is pleased. That's more important. That's more important. That not to try to please ourselves. But that's just where mercy comes from. Okay.
No, thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, Brahma.
All right. So what would you say is the difference? The husbands of the brahmanas who wouldn't give food to Krishna. They also had a very pure devotee as their wives, but they remain afraid of Kamsa, and they wouldn't surrender to Krishna. And Krishna, whereas Kaliya, he forced him, you can say. With the Brahmins, he left them the choice and they wouldn't. So, can you explain the difference?
Yeah, it's somewhere inconceivable, Krishna's mercy, because we don't see the whole picture. But the ritualistic Brahmins, they were had some pride, and they were thinking themselves very important what they were doing, that they put themselves in the center. And by that, they had the wrong inner attitude. But then, when the wives of the Brahmins, when they met Krishna and Balaram, then Krishna said, it's very nice you have come. We appreciate that, you have done the right thing, but now you should go back to your husbands and perform your sadhana and help your husbands in their duties. That, but then the wives of the Brahmins said, if we came here without their permission, and if you send us back, our husbands will reject us. And Krishna said, no, they will accept you. So they went back to their husbands, and their husbands saw that their wives had no interest in them anymore. And they were always absorbed in thinking of Krishna. And they were Brahmins, they could see that their wives had all these ecstatic symptoms of an advanced devotee. And then by Krishna's mercy, they understood our wives are much more advanced than us. We forgot the goal of life, which is developing love for Krishna. And we were busy with childish activities. And they accepted their wives as their goal. And that is what's happened in this past. And they accepted their wives as their goal. Then their heart changed. But of course, that was also inspired by Krishna from within. They got Krishna's mercy to understand that point. Without Krishna's mercy. But because that's always a thing that we must remember. Krishna is in our heart. And Krishna gives us realizations within the heart. And that is his real mercy. Tadam Buddhyontam. But we get that mercy by pleasing the spiritual master and by following his instructions. And the instructions of the spiritual masters, you hear this Bhagavatam. It's very important. That's what, not only that, but that's the hearing of the Bhagavatam is very important. Does that all? Something else? That's another point. No. Okay. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Swami P.